Amari'i Bell, welcome to Luton Town. How does it feel to be here?
Yeah, it feels great. Can't wait to finally get going. I always wanted to be out there, always gave my all for the club, you know. Wanted to just fight with the team, fight for them. It was a special day for everyone, to share it with a club that, you know, I've got a lot of love for.
Amari, 4 seasons at the club, it's been some journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. One that I probably couldn't have imagined, but it's been great. You know, I've enjoyed the ride, learned so much being here, learned so much about myself, and yeah, it's just been pivotal in my career. One that I'd definitely look back on with a lot of fun memories. So yeah, it's been very enjoyable.
Before we dive into them memories, I know it's been a couple of weeks now to reflect on that season and the West Brom game. Looking back at it now, like what are your emotions and your thoughts from the season and the final game?
I think obviously, like I said, the final game is still very raw. The season as a whole didn't go as planned as anyone would have thought. But yeah, the last game was disappointing because before that we had built up such good form. You know, everybody believed, everyone was confident that we would get it over the line, and we didn't, which, you know, hurts not just me but everyone. So yeah, it was very disappointing.
I think you could see it in the fans after the final whistle that there was a lot of anger and pain and disappointment, but I'm sure that what they don't know is that you guys do feel that as well.
Yeah, of course. You know, we, as much as they feel, we feel so much more too, because, you know, it affects them and it affects us too, it affects our lives. So yeah, it affects everybody associated with the club really. Obviously we saw their pain, their frustration, their anger afterwards too. But we feel, you know, a lot of that also. Like even for me after the game, you know, it was hard to, you know, even speak to my family after the game because it just hurt that much. Yeah, it's just not how I thought this season would go.
If we look back at the other seasons which were more positive, and I mean, you've made 150 appearances for this football club, or over 150 appearances.
Yeah.
It's just, as a whole, how do you reflect on how quick that time's gone from when you signed from Blackburn?
It's gone crazy fast. You know, to think that I've been here 4 years already, it's scary how time flies. You know, as I say, time flies when you're having fun, and I had a lot of that here. You know, the first 2 seasons were just amazing. To get promoted to the Prem, as we all remember, it was just different. It's hard to even, you know, think about it now. It's hard to even put those emotions into words.
When you signed from Blackburn, what were you expecting from this football club? Like, what vision were you sold when you initially joined from Blackburn?
It's crazy because obviously I met with Nathan at the time. I think he was, you know, one of the deciding factors of me joining this club. I saw, you know, obviously he was a young, hungry manager. He had all these ideas of how he saw me playing, where I could play, and I just thought, you know, he would improve my game. So I thought, yeah, I just want to jump on board, you know, work with him, work with the squad, and, you know, improve and see where it takes me. I'll be honest, I didn't imagine it would get promoted in 2 seasons. You know, I thought obviously it would probably take a little bit longer to be pushing for that promotion. But, you know, it happened so quick. After the first year, it was mad because we got that taste for it. And then it was kind of like, you know, we've got the little bit of experience of how we can get there. And now we added a few additions, like obviously Colin was pivotal in that. And, you know, we pushed again and we just got it over the line.
How did you feel when you come in that main position for you? Is that left centre-half role?
I actually remember when it happened, I think it was against Nottingham Forest. They had Jed Spence and Brennan Johnson. Them two playing on the right side. And obviously there was, they knew that me and Fred could obviously nullify them. So obviously I went to left centre back, Fred went to left wing back, and we kind of matched them up. But both of us done well. I feel like we got the better of them in that game, and then I think since then the position kind of stuck for me, which, you know, ideally I didn't want to go there originally, but you know, once it was there and playing football, it's you know, it's everybody's dream to play football, so you can't really complain.
I think for a couple of years we saw that partnership with you and Alfie on that left, but I feel like you guys worked so well together, and your style of play alongside Alfie just seemed, you always would just seem to be like on the edge of the opposition's box once you've got through everyone.
Yeah, nah, definitely, man. Alfie is my slab, man. He was the partnership was good. You know, we understood each other, and that's definitely something I'll miss. I thought we had a real good understanding of how each other worked, and you know, we had a few arguments on the pitch, but you know, that's just the emotion that you get playing the game. But yeah, nah, I love playing with Alfie, man. I'm definitely gonna miss it for sure.
Do you reckon this is the place that you needed when you left Blackburn? A place where you could just, like you said, play minutes. It's every footballer's dream. So just come and make this place your home. Was this what you needed at that stage of your career?
Yeah, and I feel like the previous 2 years before I joined, I'd played like half the games each season. So, you know, I needed to come somewhere where I felt the love from, you know, my teammates, the fans, the staff, and I felt that, you know, more than ever. So it definitely worked in my favour. But you know, playing games consistently was just amazing, and everybody wants to play games. You know, it's frustrating when you're not a starter. So I was just fortunate enough to play how many games for this club, which, yeah, it's been great.
The first season, I think I looked earlier, the last 10, 15 games, you were 90 minutes in all of them. You were just a machine in there.
Yeah.
In that first season.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I was just, you know, doing everything right at home, away from the field, you know, to make sure I put myself in the best position to give my all for the club. I'm still fighting, still getting them 90 minutes over the line, which, you know, I love. But yeah, it was great.
I wanted to touch on, you only scored 2 goals for the club.
Yeah.
One was a really class finish. The other one, I mean, we always say it's the most unsatisfying goal to watch.
Yeah, it's true.
You always have to throw up the goal line technology to show that it did go in. But
You're not wrong.
let's touch on them 2 goals. The one at Barnsley away, which I think at the time the Barnsley commentator said it was a tap-in from Amari'i Bell.
I'll take that.
On your weaker foot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought, you know, that was the start of a lot more goals to come, but you know, it didn't happen that way. But yeah, 2 goals, which yeah, obviously the first one was great to get it early on. It was very clinical. You know, maybe I should have been a striker, but yeah. And obviously the second one, like you said, it was disappointing because the connection was great. I wanted to see it nestling in the net, but it was stopped on the line, and then yeah, it was taken away from me. But you know, it was still a goal. Didn't get to celebrate the way that I wanted to either, but yeah, it was good.
Do they even feel the same when you don't see it hit the back of the net and it's just like the ref's like, yeah, it went in?
Nah, definitely not. Definitely not. Like, you don't even want to celebrate after that. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about that first season then when you joined, because it was, I remember that Huddersfield playoff, just how good we were in that second leg, and we were so unlucky to come away with a 1-0 defeat that season, weren't we?
Yeah, no, that was crazy. We definitely had the control in the game. If I'm correct, I feel like I remember Corns had a good chance. Yeah, so I feel like over the 2 games, you know, we should have won. But I think that season they were kind of our kryptonite. You know, I feel like we struggled to beat them in the 4 games that we played. I can't remember the results, but yeah, they were definitely a well-oiled team, as you say, defensively good. So it was disappointing.
Do you reckon as well? I mean, the injuries that year were maybe played a part. I remember Eli coming on in that second leg, and he was hobbling on. He could barely walk.
Yeah.
It was. I know it's kind of like run out of steam almost, weren't it?
Yeah. No, it did. Yeah, that back end of the season, it was tough. I think that's when Gabe was out as well. So yeah, obviously some key players that were needed just obviously weren't available. And obviously, as we know, it's a squad game, but in them games as well, you may want to make a substitution to freshen things up and, give that extra fight. But I feel like we weren't able to do that as much. So it was disappointing, definitely. And obviously, I think that's what gave us more inspiration, determination the following season to go again and get the promotion.
Did you guys think that you could do that though? Because I think to finish in the playoffs, to then regroup and go again and do even better the following year, did you guys believe that you could do that?
Yeah, no, we definitely believed, especially after that first season, my first season here, it gave myself that hunger to go again. And I kind of felt like, the season where we did get promoted, this was kind of my last chance to play in the Premier League. So, I wanted to make sure that I did and, the boys did everything that we could to get there.
How much drive does that give you then, that feeling of this could be my last chance?
It gave me a lot, do you know what I mean? A lot, especially, when, as we know, the Championship's a long season, and when you get to Christmas, you can kind of know where you're going to be. And obviously we started to pick up, some form after the Christmas period. I think we had so many clean sheets and so many wins. When you're in touching distance, it kind of gives you that extra motivation, that extra drive to go. So yeah, it did for myself.
And then that day at Wembley, it's coming up to the 2-year anniversary, which is just crazy considering what's happened in the last 2 years. But that day will be there forever in history, and everyone on the pitch that day and everyone just in the club that day are heroes for what happened. But that day, amazing. Yeah,
it was mad. Even when I see little pictures or little videos, and I just get goosebumps because the day it's something that I wish I could relive again. A lot of people don't get to play at Wembley, let alone get promoted through a game at Wembley. So it was just different class, to share it with a club that, I've got a lot of love for as well. It was amazing. All my family was there. It was a special day for everyone.
And the first half, we played so well. It was almost like everyone just knew what they were doing, and Cov couldn't cope with balls into Eli and Colton, and just a crazy day full of emotions and twists and turns, and you guys having to deal with Victor Garez, who's look at where he's gone to now.
It was mad. I can't remember the game exactly, but I remember when, like you said, when the balls were going up to Eli and Carlton, them two were just on it, and it was just like, we're in the game. Obviously, like you said, the first half was comfortable. I remember thinking in my head that this is us. We went 1-0 up, and I thought we was going to go again and score a few more. Second half, obviously things changed. I think they made a change. I think they brought Matty Godman, and he was actually, I feel like he changed the game for them, to be honest. He was good, and obviously they scored, and it was just, wow. What way is this going to go now? In a big game, when the opposition score like that, and kind of have to just settle down, regroup again, and just keep you cool. Sometimes you can go, and then they can score another, and the game's over. So I feel like after they scored, we kind of settled down good, and showed some good composure.
Remind me, you were on the pitch for Pens, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I was. Yeah, I wanted to take one, to be honest.
You did,
to take one, but I remember we was doing was practicing penalties for a while before semis and stuff as well. And I remember, I think on the first 2 days that we was practicing penalties, I missed every penalty. I remember Shazy, he was in my head. Every time I come to take a penalty, I think he saved the first one, saved the second, then I hit the crossbar. I was just damn. I was going home thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, after that, I got better, started scoring more. But, the other boys were top anyway, and, the penalties in the final, not just from us, but the Cov players
just-
as well. They were crazy.
I remember watching, thinking, how is this going to end?
Yeah, I know.
Where would you have been on the list?
I think I was seventh, maybe seventh or eighth. I can't remember then. But I feel like because we practiced them so much, even to like the routine of where to stand and how to creep and forward as well, I feel like the boys were just ready, and I think it definitely showed. Like it didn't look. When I was looking at the boys going up to take the penalties, there was no nerves. Well, they didn't show it anyway. Like they just showed that they were fully focused and determined to put the ball in the back of the net.
And that feeling when the penalty was missed and the promotion was confirmed was just probably like no other, right?
Yeah, it was just like a dream come true. All emotions just, came over me. You kind of like forget where you are for a moment. It was just mad. Like I can't even remember parts of being on the field now. I just remember obviously running, celebrating.
Emotional?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like I said, for me, it kind of felt like the last chance, and we had just finally did it. And obviously the boys, to do it with them, everybody had a great relationship. So it was just, it was a great moment for everybody's career and for the club.
So yeah, a brilliant day at Wembley, and then a Premier League season ahead. I mean, when you stood on the pitch at Brighton and you're a Premier League player,
Yeah.
that is the dream.
Yeah, definitely. It was just like, everything that everybody works hard for growing up, the league that you always want to play in. And it was just like, we've finally arrived, we've finally got here. Now it's time to work hard and go again.
I really felt like you played your part in the Premier League as well, and I know whenever we look at the highlights of you, there's so many we can pick from each Premier League game that I do think you really coped well with the Premier League. Do you reckon you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely felt like, I've always believed that, I can play in the Prem. I just, wanted to get that opportunity. For me, it didn't go as planned, obviously, especially with the injury, and, took, a lot of games away from me. But, to be able to grace myself in the Premiership, it was just, it was amazing, and I don't think anyone, can take that away from me.
Yeah, I put it down here that the injury you picked up against Villa in the 6th minute. Do you reckon that you put it down to the intensity of the league and the players you're playing against, that these injuries do happen?
I wouldn't say that, no. I feel like because, when we played against Man City on, I think it was on the Tuesday night before, I came off with an ankle injury. Then obviously I wanted to, put my body on the line, as you do, footballers, to fight with the team. But obviously in that game I was struggling with my ankle. I'm not no medical professional, so I don't know whether this was the reason, but I feel like the way that I was moving and I was trying to run in a way where it wouldn't hurt my ankle. So I feel like it was messing up with my biomechanics, and, hamstring went pop, and that was it for, I think, 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, how was that for you mentally at the time?
That was tough because until that moment I felt like, I was invincible. Obviously I played how many games, 90 minutes, back to back, and I just thought like, my body was indestructible, but that kind of, gave me a humbling experience. I feel like also just to not take advantage of the beautiful game, as we call it, and to just enjoy every moment and not take anything for granted.
I guess as well in that time where we were suffering with injuries as well, that you just wanted to be out there to help the rest of the lads.
Yeah, definitely, especially in, the season where, like I said, everybody had worked so hard for. So injury is such a struggle. It's such a mental battle a lot of the days, especially like, when you're in the gym, the boys are outside training and you're grinding on, the watt bike or the skier or doing this and that. It's very tough. But, I also believe, there's a lesson in all of these things, and it helps you to be a better person.
And then I know we touched on this season earlier on in this chat, but it didn't go how we wanted it, and it didn't go to plan. But I guess, as you'll know from your time here, that the only way to get out of this now is to everyone to stick together, fans and players to all be on board to move in the right direction?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that this club has been amazing with. You know, when I first signed, you know, I felt, and I think obviously my debut game, the fans were just different class. It's not something that I had experienced before. You know, you feel that proper togetherness, as they showed this season as well. You know, even when things weren't going to plan, they obviously showed frustration, but you know, when they needed to get behind us, they did. Obviously, one game that sticks out was obviously Derby. You know, when we won there, and the support after that was just amazing. So you know, the club will definitely bounce back because you know they've got everything they need to be able to do that.
What would you want the fans to remember Amari'i Bell for from your time there?
You know, I guess the promotion season is the season that I'd want them to remember me for the most. But I think also, you know, just also that I always wanted to be out there, always gave my all for the club, you know. Wanted to just fight with the team, fight for them, and, you know, succeed in every game that was possible.
And I guess finally a message to the fans from, like you said earlier, it's been a ride, playoffs, promotion, relegation. You haven't just had a season of nothingness really. So what would your final message to the fans just be for them 4 years that you've had here?
It would just be, you know, thank you for, you know, welcoming me for one of their own. You know, I've experienced a lot here. I've enjoyed a lot of moments, you know, with them. So yeah, thank you for showing me a lot of love, and you know, obviously this club and you know the fans and the atmosphere and everything that I've experienced on game days will always be remembered. And there's no doubt, you know, I'll come back and want to come watch some games, and I'll be a fan myself. So yeah, thank you.